We're on.
We're on and we're ready to go, and the meeting has been called to order. And we do have a quorum. One of the things I was just going to remind people of was the fact that the quorum number remains at 6 until such time the Attorney General approves the town's recommendation that we reduce the size of the board from 11 to 9 members. And that might take a couple of months.
90 days. Didn't you say 90 days?
I think Keith said it could take up to as long as 90 days. So, and then the quorum, our quorum will be reduced to 5 once we do, if he approves, the Attorney General approves, you know, the reduction in size. So, just so it's clear for everyone. And we have, let's see, Susan Dunn is taking minutes, and thank you, Susan. I appreciate it. So,
Just don't quiet and do it.
do you need some help with the
You want to
guests?
sit closer
Yes.
to her?
With the,
Can you do it,
okay.
Janet?
Just,
I know, you know Tina, and you know Barbara, and we have Rosemary, Rico Bales, is that how you pronounce it?
yeah. Roseanne.
Roseanne, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Apologies. And Mary Pickett as guests, right at the present. So we have to, for you guests, Susan is filling in for Bob Stetson, who's somewhere in Panama, enjoying himself, I hope. So she's taking minutes for us. So. And we welcome you. And I will remind everyone, this is an open meeting, and we must adhere to the open meeting law. So. Announcements from anyone?
Yes, I'd like to make an announcement. As a member of the subcommittee for the access to town meeting for seniors, I went to the town meeting, which was a lovely town meeting, by the way. We got over in 45 minutes. But pertaining to the access for seniors, it was set up for seniors, but there were very few seniors there.
True.
But those who were there, I did encourage to sit in the designated slot. The signage outside was inappropriately placed, and I did talk to Diane about that, and she was aware of it, so that they will not make the same mistake next time.
Great, thank you.
But I wanted to go just, one, to observe that it was still being done, which it was, but people still aren't really aware of it. which
No,
is-
I think it will take time.
I think it'll take a little time, and in fact, it wasn't a big meeting with a lot of interest,
Right.
so
No, the attendance was low anyway,
It
in
was.
general. Not
But I-
just from seniors.
I think I think the next time we need to kind of guide them to the area the next time we have a meeting, because they still come and sort of try and climb up the bleachers. So I stood toward the back earlier in the meeting and
Maybe we could have a sign that says reserved.
kind of
I
guide
wonder
them
if that would be
down.
possible. We could inquire
Very
about
nice to be able to park right in
Yes.
front.
It does make a difference.
It does make a
Yeah.
huge difference. The parking, it was such a treat. I
Yeah.
agree.
But I just thought that the subcommittee should make
Thank
a
you.
report about it.
Well, and you had indicated that you were going to keep track of it for a while, even though you're not meeting actively right now, but you were going to kind of monitor things, so,
So
thank you.
I just wanted to make sure I did my job.
You did.
And didn't
job.
forget about it.
A great job, too.
I think in the May broadcaster, we'll repeat the notice that we ran last year, just before the May meeting, mentioning the parking.
In advance, the
mentioning
next, yeah.
Yeah, the designated seating as a way to encourage
Yeah,
people.
because otherwise it's just going to kind of get lost in the shuffle if we don't mention it next spring. Because next spring will probably be a bigger meeting.
Probably. It was unusually,
I think any meeting would be a bigger.
yes, I agree. It was really quite a treat to be home by 8 o'clock. So,
If I had known it.
so, but thank you.
Okay.
And if I could go back to the issue of the secretary and Susan filling in, I would like to just let you all know that in the future, when we have a vacancy, you know, like in the secretary spot, and we need minutes taken, I want to reassure you all that you can get help in writing the minutes as long as you make an attempt at getting down, the main points. And with that in mind, I'm willing to help anybody that's doing it. I think Pamela's willing to help too.
Plus, you can always watch the meeting.
And you can always, watch the meeting on TV if you've missed something. So, but I will be appointing somebody in order to keep it organized and fair to everybody involved, so the same people don't end up doing this all the time. So, I heard that, Susan. Okay, but let me reassure you again, you get all the help you need. You don't have to worry if you can't hear everything, because we will fill it in for you and help you out. And even if you're not good on the computer, we can help with that, as long as you get the information, the main things down. So, other announcements from any board members? Before I have another one. That is, you'll notice that there is a sign at one seat, and we have, prior to our last meeting, had heard that people were having difficulty hearing us on the televised broadcast. Obviously, guests like Tina and Barbara, who always speak in our meetings and catch us up to date on what's happening, they couldn't be heard either because they were way over there. So we have an empty seat, and when we invite someone to speak, I would invite you to come up to the table and speak so that people can hear you. And we're going to try to keep that in place from now on, so that, that was another, we heard about that after our last meeting. However, we also had feedback after our last meeting, when it was televised, that they were able to hear us, the board, much better. So keep in mind, speak into the microphones when you are talking, please. And the other announcement I have is that we have one change to the agenda, and that is just to add under new business. We had to, we did not want to put this off because of the importance of filling board slots. Mary Pickard is here, along with Roseanne, as a candidate for a spot on the board. So if you could add her name down there and on the agenda. I think that's all the announcements I have. Okay. I'm sure nobody else has one. All right, we'll move on. All right. Could we have a motion to accept the minutes of the October 19th meeting?
So moved.
Second. Jean seconding. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Patty, did you vote? Are you in favor of
Oh, yes,
accepting
I
the
am.
minutes?
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. It's unanimous then, Susan. And Barbara, the friends are on. Would you like to take a seat at the table?
Boy, I get to do it first.
Yes, you do. A whole new procedure we're going to be following now, which I think would be nice for people to hear you.
Well, I'm surprised nobody could hear me anyway, because I think I'm the loudest person in the building sometimes. But anyway, so the Friends are hosting the Vets Luncheon, the Veterans Luncheon, on this Wednesday. I think we have 115 so far that are signed up to come, and that's lovely because there have been times we've had a lot less, so I'm anxious to see, who's coming. And I do want to remind them to park in the back of the building. Just drive around the back of the building, and I'm not sure, let me ask Nancy, we putting up balloons or anything?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, there'll be balloons to guide people, so you'll know where to park. And,
Excuse me, while you're on that, Bob, I'll just say that the balloons are going to be put on the entrance. There are several entrances, but the balloons will be put on one entrance, and they just have to go straight, and then there'll be balloons at the doorway to where they're supposed to go in.
okay, so there'll be balloons at the entrance, go straight, and then there'll be balloons in front of the entrance to the room that we're using.
And it's 24, door number 24.
Door number 24. So remember that. And we hope to have a good time in the this is going to be at Neshoba Tech, and we do have the Littleton High School Chorus coming to sing for us, which is going to be great. And then on December 9th, we're going to have a thrift shop fashion show. It's at 1 o'clock. It's going to be a tea this time, and desserts. We have about 12 models, and we're getting everything ready, so hopefully we'll see a lot of you there.
Where?
It will be at the multipurpose room here in the
What
Shattuck
time?
Street building,
What time was that again?
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
And just a reminder that the yoga class is in the multipurpose room until 11, so you won't be able to put the tables up until after 11.
That's fine. That's good. All right. I think that's it for now. But hope to see everybody at all the events that we put on, because it's really great to get together with everyone. Is there anything else?
Yes.
Oh, excuse me.
First, I would like to thank Mary for correcting the Littleton Independent for the wrong date they had for the Veterans Luncheon.
Thank you, Mary, for correcting that date in the Littleton Independent.
And the Littleton Independent was very surprised, because they actually put a correction on with the date.
The reason that I'm repeating everything you're saying, Nancy, is because I'm sitting here because now when we have something to say, we're going to sit here
Okay?
because
Mike.
the studio people are saying that they never can hear us back here.
Okay.
So that's the only reason why I'm repeating.
Well, I have a lot more, so,
Why don't you come up here?
okay.
Dear Nancy.
I will let Nancy take over.
I have this to give to Pam, and I'll explain. We have a new walking group in town for seniors, and it's called the Prime Time Trekkers, after the Prime Time Paddlers. When the kayaking season was ending, some of the kayakers asked if we could continue to do something if we could walk. So I said sure, and I just contacted the kayaking people. We now have about 30 signed up, not all kayakers. 4 people in the kayaking group happened to be with the Conservation Trust. And the Conservation Trust was trying to start a walking program. And nothing happened. But with Fran Myers, who's on the Conservation Group, and with the names I had from the kayaking people, we were able to get it started. Then I found out from Art Lazarus, who is with the Conservation Commission. He has come up with the pamphlet, Walking for Recovery, and these are easy places to walk in Littleton. I just got it this morning. I got home and it was there. It has maps, it has details, it has the rating, if it's easy, hard, difficult, but most of it is all easy. And there was someone who had just recovered from major surgery and someone else who was partially blind. He did this for those people. And so I have the pamphlet. I have a copy for Pam, but I have a call into Art. I don't know if there's a charge for this. There is a charge for their other booklets. And so I asked him to please let me know if there's a charge. I was hoping it was going to be free because it was going to be for senior citizens. So this just happened, that's why I'm late. Do you want to pass this down?
Do you know what the route will be?
Oh, yes.
Is it Star Hill? No?
I haven't read it. It's there.
Oh, okay.
Is Star Hill there?
There are 8 different ones, and I don't see anything called Star Hill. It doesn't mean that it doesn't
Okay,
include
just
Star Hill.
wondering. Okay.
And was this the Conservation Commission or the Conservation Trust? Thank you.
Trust.
Thank you.
Trust.
And was this the Conservation Commission or the Conservation Trust? Thank you.
They meet, weather permitting, every Thursday at 1 o'clock. Last week was canceled because of rain. This week might be canceled because of rain also. Fran Myers is a great guide, and we have a co-leader with her. Her name is Valdine Alcerek. Fran Myers will not be doing this when the snow comes, but there are people interested in snowshoeing. So this is another thing that I'm looking into, finding out just from the list that I have, how many want to do snowshoeing. And then there are people in the Conservation Trust who are willing to help and to do it with the guides.
Nancy, if you could find out whether it would be all right for us to post this on the website, that would be great.
I will.
Thank you.
Nancy, did they give you a number if anyone wanted information?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
A phone number. Did they give you a phone number?
Who's they?
If someone wants to join you, who can they call?
They call Council on Aging. Council on Aging will say, will direct you to the appropriate person. That's already happened 3 times. And then I contact the people, give them information, and then they decide if they want to join or not.
That's really exciting, and it's so ironic in how it all came together. It's wonderful.
It
It's
is.
great.
Who knows, we're going to have a prime time something else.
Right.
Snowshoers.
Primetime snowshoe is right.
Partiers or-
Yes. Okay.
That's
thank you.
great. Oh, thank you ever so
Thank you,
much.
Nancy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else from the Friends? You gave up your seat. I know, I want you back, Barbara, if you have more. So,
No, I'm finished, thank you.
thank you. All right. Any questions for the Friends? All righty, then we're moving on to old business. And I was so excited today to see activity downstairs in the kitchen. I saw a workman coming out the door and then going back in, so update on the kitchen project.
My understanding is that they have completed the demolition phase, and they're starting to work on the actual putting things together phase. Part of the demolition was doing some work to get ready to put the new grease trap in, and things like that, pulling out the old sink, pulling out the old cabinets. At this stage, the only thing I can report is that it has started, which I'm very happy about.
Yes.
Remember, they did tell us, the contractor said it would be 12 to 15 weeks. So we did start a week
How many
late.
weeks?
12 to 15 weeks.
Oh, my, okay.
And we did start a week late because of a delay to get the permits. So we're looking at into January, into February for completion. But
This
it
is 180,000 it went through on the town meeting and all?
Right, they gave us an additional $38,000 at town meeting that will be used to fund some of the things that we had to cut out when we trimmed the project down so that we could get a bid for the amount of money that we had available.
Last month, we mentioned a stove. Whatever happened to that item?
It's on there,
It's on there?
right.
Excuse me, Pamela? You need a mic. He can't hear you.
So, okay.
Gene Givers.
We're moving, we're moving mics all over the place.
Yeah.
So at town meeting, they gave us an extra $38,000. That $38,000 is to cover items that weren't included in the trimmed-down version that went to bid the third time when we went out to bid. And the stove was one of the items. The stove was always an optional item for the first phase of the project. And optional means if there was enough money, it was going to be in. If there wasn't enough money, it wasn't going to be in. And when I say stove, I literally mean the stove. We always included the fire suppression system because that was a code piece that we had to have in before we could get our kitchen back and functional.
Right, the primary focus of the actual, correct me if I'm wrong, but the primary focus of the actual renovations that are going on now are to bring all of the issues about where the code was not being met up to par.
Right.
And then we're moving on to other things, such as the stove and cabinets or whatever.
Right.
So it's by stage now, that's all.
So the
Phases.
first, the first contract was let to replace the sink. We had a 2-well sink. We had to have a 3-well sink for code and a grease trap. To put in a separate hand wash sink, we had no hand wash sink, so that's going to be included. To replace the the residential dishwasher with a commercial dishwasher, which includes a sanitizing cycle, and to install a fire suppression system above the stove that would meet code in terms of safety in using the stove. Those were the items that were in the first phase. And as I said, the stove was the optional piece. If we had enough money, it was going to be in Phase 1. Now that they've given us the additional money, we for sure will be able to replace the stove, as well as we're doing a prioritized list of the other items that had to be cut out.
How about the refrigerator, the old one? You're going to keep that? Last time, the Light and Water Department donated.
I don't know of any old refrigerator. I know we have a relatively new refrigerator that works
Oh,
fine.
okay. I
That we're
don't
not
know.
replacing.
Okay.
And we also have a relatively new freezer that we're not replacing. Part of the renovation is to move the freezer into the kitchen and out of
Good.
the stairwell, which is also a code violation.
Good.
Progress, that's progress.
Yes,
We are-
huge.
Huge progress, so
And
we're
many
very
thanks
happy.
to the Friends for paying for the storage container.
Yes.
You know, I'm sorry that we had so much trouble with the bid process, but, you know, PMBC, as near as we can tell, was working as hard as they possibly could on that. But now we are started, so.
And we are getting help with that,
Oh,
the payments.
really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And where's the help coming from? Bill Cole? Oh, great. So the
So
town's
far.
paying
So
part of it. Great. That's wonderful. Terrific.
He's helping us.
Good.
Thank you. Everyone, a lot of people have been helping us, I think, along this path. It's been an arduous journey so far, but we're getting there, so.
And my plan is that once the kitchen is up and running, that we have some kind of a little celebration.
Yeah.
To reopen it to people and get it on its feet again.
A big winter
bring 'em
event.
back, yeah.
It'll be a big winter event, and hopefully the weather will cooperate for that day. So.
And again, sincere thank you to Lisa Larrabee and the Housing Authority for allowing us to use the community room at 19 Shattuck. That has worked out so well for us, especially with the social club that now runs 3 days a week and has a whole group that's going to lunch. It's really been great to have that just down the street.
So there's no need to go to the Congregational Church now that they're open?
Oh, are they open?
Well,
No, they're not open.
No, they're not
They're
open.
open, Mary.
They're not going
not
to,
open for public?
no, they're not going to be open until January.
Yes.
Oh, you wouldn't know it from all the cars that are there
Well, they're
all the
open for
time.
church.
Yeah,
They
That's
don't-
upstairs, yeah.
oh,
They don't have
okay,
occupancy permits and things yet.
Yesterday.
okay, okay.
Well, as of
Dedication?
a week ago, they didn't have occupancy permits. But, and there's too much, as far as things like the neighborhood supper, they're not resuming until January.
Let them stay put if they're happy where they are for the rest of the
Right.
term.
Not moving things
Well,
around.
Congregational church isn't open, it's not even an option, so.
No.
I do have something to add to what Pam said.
Have to come to the table,
I can
Nancy.
talk loud, it's the third graders. The third graders were very disappointed that our kitchen was closed. So what they did is, there are 5 classes this year. One class made placemats for Halloween, another for Thanksgiving, and another for the holidays. The last 2 classes want to have a celebration, decorate for our celebration for our grand opening.
Oh, that's nice.
That's very nice. Great. All right. Any other discussion about the kitchen project? Let's move on then to an update on the town meeting and the warrant issues, which we've kind of covered a little bit, but
Town meeting went really, really well. Our warrant issues sailed right through, no questions. The TREAD program is already up and running. Steve Venuti already has it on the payment system for the taxes. There's already a notice there that says, would you like to contribute to the TREAD program? I've been in touch with the tax collector. She has a little handout to give people who ask about the program. And after January 1st, we'll start taking applications for people who are looking for funding out of the program.
What do you call low income? What's the cutoff?
The committee has not met yet. There are 3 seats to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen, and they'll determine what the cutoff is. My suspicion would be that they're going to select some state level, not make one up themselves, but rather adopt one that's in use right now by the state.
And how old is elderly?
65. 65, it says that
Okay.
right there on the literature. That's the state statute, says 65. That's not my choice. The second item in town meeting had to do with our board membership size. That also sailed right through, and Marge already mentioned the caveat that it doesn't take effect until the Attorney General signs off on the bylaw change, because it was a bylaw change for the town. So as soon as I hear anything, I'll let you know, but Keith indicated that it could take a couple, 3 months for that to be dealt with.
All right. Any other questions for Pam about those 2 issues?
No,
items?
they covered Articles 7, 9, and 10. That was great. We got what we wanted.
It was very nice. It was a very nice meeting. So,
Yeah.
all right. We're moving on to new business, and I'd like to officially welcome Roseanne and Mary. I think they kind of have already, but you feel free. And I wondered if it might be nice for them to, we perhaps should have done this in the beginning of the meeting, but I'm going to ask you to go around and introduce yourselves to them so they at least know who we all are. That would probably be nice. I remember when I had to go through this process, of interviewing and trying to become a board member. It was nice to know who people were, so. And I'll start. If we could just go around to the table, and then we'll go on from there. So I'm Marge Payne, the current chair, and I've been a board member for going on, 4 years now. This is my 4th year. So I haven't been chair all that time, though. And
I'm Pamela Campbell. I'm the Director of Elder and Human Services.
I'm Jean Flaherty, and I've been on the board, I think, 2 years.
Feels like 20, right? Feels like
like
20.
20.
And I've been here forever.
Barbara Cam.
Susan Dunn, and I've been on the board about a year, maybe a little more than a year.
Mary Catalanato, I've been on for many, many years. In fact, it was Mary Kay that asked me to be on the board, and I said, well, what is the Council on Aging? I mean, I was young then. That's for elderly people.
we're a senior then, Mary.
I've grown right into it, and a long time, I do communications.
I'm Patty Hunt, and I'm the current vice chair. I've been on a year, but I was on when I was in my 40s for about 5 years, and came back when I was officially a senior citizen.
Great, thank you. Hopefully that helps you a little bit anyway. So, and I think you know, obviously, who Barbara McRae is. She's already spoken as the Friends, head of the Friends, president of the Friends.
We're the friends.
And sitting next to her is Tina Mater. And go ahead, Tina, you can explain a little bit about
Oh, sure. I'm
who you are in case they don't know.
Tina Mater, the outreach coordinator here, and have been here for off and on for the last 20 years now. But it just went full-time a little over a year ago, and it's growing rapidly. So it's a growing place with outreach, and we do all ages now. We used to be strictly the Council on Aging, which this board still is, but we also serve the under 60 population, and have always served the disabled under 60 as well.
No, it gets a little confusing sometimes when you realize that the council, the COA, is a piece of the Department of Human Services. And both Tina and Pam are obligated to the whole Department of Human Services. The COA is focused on elderly or seniors, so. just to help with a little bit of clarification, because it is a little confusing, I think, in the beginning. So,
Nancy?
and Nancy?
I'm with the Friends, I support Barbara. She needs a lot of support.
She's her right arm,
Right arm, left leg.
and her husband's her left arm. And Barbara's wonderful.
I'm sure you can stand it.
And we are missing Bob Stetson, as I said earlier on, who is the secretary of the board, and he's just away out of town right now. That's why he's not here today. So, am I missing anybody else? I don't think so.
No, we're all,
All right. With that, we're going to move on, and perhaps I'd like to invite Roseanne to come up to the table so that you have a microphone and people can hear you. And suggest to the board that perhaps we go around the table if you have questions for Roseanne. But,
You should point out that
I-
in their packet, they've got some sample
and they do,
questions.
you do have sample questions in your packet.
but I can start because I have a question.
You would like to start? Okay. Sure.
then I can
Maybe
write.
you- And Roseanne, you can, please, ask questions of us too as you go along if
Right.
they come up. Feel free to
Okay.
it. We don't have to stick to a rigid structure here, but, great. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm sort of interested in what is it about the aging population that is really of interest to you? What part of what we do is most interesting to you?
Well, I guess I can address that kind of globally. Historically, I come from a background as a nurse. I've always worked in long-term care for at least the past 20 years. And it's just always been something that I wanted to do. I grew up in a big Italian family, three-decker in Boston with grandparents on the first floor, and my aunt on the second, us on the third floor. And so looking out for folks, within the extended family that needed that kind of support has just always been something that we did. And then I went into nursing and have always been, like I said, in long-term care. Now I've been in town since 1987. We actually bought a cottage that my grandfather built back in the 40s, and once it became too small for my growing family, we added on and kind of committed to staying in town. So my kids are townies. I'm not a townie because I didn't grow up here, but my kids are townies. They've all graduated, and now that my youngest is off at college, I have the luxury of having a little more time and am not so focused on the football games and the cheerleading and all that kind of stuff, and so wanted to become more involved in a town that has given me and my family so much. So that's kind of, and I went to the presentation last month, I guess, on the needs assessment. And when I heard that there were openings on the board, I thought, oh, well, so, there's an opportunity to give back.
I do want to say that I was at the needs assessment meeting and that you asked very wonderful questions and your input was very pertinent to what was going on. And I noted you in the audience, and so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have you had any other volunteer positions or volunteered for other agencies related to seniors at all?
Not volunteer, no, mostly through work.
You said you were a long-term care nurse. What do you mean by a long-term?
Well, I started my nursing career as a floor nurse in a nursing home in West Concord. From there, I did work at an assisted living for a little while, and found that I didn't have the same connection with the residents as I did in the nursing home setting. So went back, and from there, the facility I worked at in West Concord, I did pretty much every job in the building. I left as the director, and then I went on to work for some of the bigger chain corporations, doing compliance, reimbursement, Medicare, Medicaid, and then just recently, about a year or so, a couple of years ago, decided that I was tired of driving 600 or 700 miles a week, was losing connection with people, with what I really wanted to do, and I went back to nursing within a building. So I worked for about a year in Methuen at the Nevins home. And then right after that, an opening came up at Life Care Center up on Foster Street, and I thought, great, I could walk to work if I wanted to. And I was there for a while. In the midst of all this, I had gone back to school about 5 years or so ago, and earned my JD in the evening. I went back to law school. And since I'm paying all these student loans, my husband's been bugging me to maybe look at a different career. So now at midlife, I'm looking at a different career. But I still work at Life Care. I still work there part-time. It's kind of like a second home. I've worked there part-time for over 4 years, but just last year worked there full-time. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but...
May I ask you a question? You mentioned that you are now a practicing elder law attorney in Littleton.
Yeah, I just recently hung my own shingle. Never worked for myself before, so this is all an adventure. And in part, I'm still supporting myself working at the nursing home on Foster Street. But when I decided to go to law school, it was for that specific piece of the whole spectrum of law. I wanted to do elder law. And so that's going to be my focus.
You working from home or with someone else?
No, I actually opened my own office right where Horseman's Exchange is, right upstairs
Okay.
from there, so.
Good,
Yes.
congratulations.
Where the Horseman's Exchange is, in that red building,
Okay.
yeah. So it's all very new to me.
Yeah, I know where that is, yeah.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Still walking to work.
I'm still walking to work. Yes, it's very nice. It's nice to work where you live.
Yes.
It's a good thing.
What do you expect to get out of the Council of Aging?
I expect to get some gratification. I enjoy working with older people, which is why I've always worked in long-term care for my whole nursing career. And I feel at this point, like I said, now that I have free time, I should be giving something back. And, my demographic, I was at the bottom end of, or the far left spectrum of people that, although I never did get a questionnaire, and I should have, I was 50.
Really?
Yes.
What if everyone who was on the town census, would there be any reason that you wouldn't have been on the census?
No, I vote all the time, and so I was kind of disappointed when I heard that I didn't have a chance to
Maybe you
take
turned
place.
50 after
Maybe.
we picked the list or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Because you look kind of young.
Have you ever met Leslie Madge, the elder law attorney in Littleton?
I've heard of her. I have not met her, no.
No, okay.
I have heard of her, though.
Will you have
But-
time for us, for board meetings and subcommittee work? Will that fit into your schedule?
Yeah, whatever I make fit in. Having 3 kids that have been involved in,
That's true.
a myriad of things. I've always worked at least one job full-time, if not a couple. Time management, I'm not concerned about my time management. And just, being on that other kind of, I guess, the lower age spectrum of the people that responded to that whole survey, I see myself as investing in my future, because I don't plan to leave town. I would like to stay here, and so being able to be involved in maybe some plans and decisions that happen now that are going to affect folks that are living here in 10, 20, 30 years, that's, maybe it's on a little bit on the selfish side, but it's planning ahead for my own ability to be able to stay here as well. I'd love it if I could get my parents to move here, they won't. But, so I see it as not only paying it forward, but looking forward to be able to kind of allow myself to stay in a town that, like I said, has done a lot for me, and I don't want to leave.
Okay.
It's nice that you want to work with older people.
There's a lot of definitions for that word.
That is so true.
Not old
It
is
is.
mature. Wise.
Jean, do you have a question? Do you have a question? We haven't gotten over to this side of the table too much here, I think.
Yeah, well, she kind of said just about everything.
Oh, okay. I'm just double
And
checking.
I think she did anyway. But, all right, so, as you think about the Littleton's aging population, what strikes you as needing the greatest attention at this time?
Housing, absolutely housing.
Oh, good.
And not just from, what was presented at the meeting. Working in long-term care, one of the biggest stumbling blocks we see when people come for rehab and their desire is to go home, it's often not the medical conditions. It's not being able to manage in their home because their bedroom's upstairs, or the house is so old that, you cannot physically fit a wheelchair through a doorway. The house is just set up completely wrong, to be able to go home. And, it's heartbreaking. People are alert and oriented and can certainly make their own decisions, but they can't physically cope in their home because it's not adaptable.
Right.
And this town is a very auto-focused.
Centric, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It doesn't lend itself easily to being able to get assistance in, or sometimes even being able to have, remodeling done to the house, because some of the houses are so close, it's difficult. And, the houses that I have, the newer houses that I've seen going in, they're not geared towards, one floor.
Downsizing one floor.
Downsizing, exactly. So, again, planning going forward, without plans being looked at now,
True.
Littleton's population, I think, is 9,000. 14% of that is elderly. So you'll have a lot of work to do.
Thank you.
Barbara?
Would you have time to get involved? I mean, we have a once-a-month meeting, and we have committee meetings. But there's also so many things that you could be involved in.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of my questions from the job description that came out, was the various different, the expectation that you take part in committees.
Have you gone through any day, gone through to see what goes on here?
That was my question. What committees?
Oh.
Fill me in. What committees, subcommittees are there? Like I said, as far as my time management, having worked for so many years, doing a lot of driving, I was covering nursing homes between Vermont and the Cape. You learn how to budget your time very carefully. And then especially having 3 kids, all close in age, with all the sports and school stuff and that kind of stuff. Time management it's not my concern. I shouldn't say that. I feel confident that I would be able to fit in what I need to fit in, only because I've been able to juggle so many things in the past. And, where there's an interest, you make time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of things you can volunteer to get in on,
Yeah.
other than committees. Can I say something about the committee? Just to give an example, I addressed the subcommittee of the town meeting for seniors.
Right.
That meant myself and another individual, maybe there was enough, two other of us, we had to meet, first of all, plan with the town clerk that we were having a meeting, have it posted that we were having a meeting. Then we had to set the time to meet because other individuals work and I don't. Have the meeting, then arrange to meet with the town moderator, then arrange to meet with the technical people, then arrange to meet with the town clerk again, and then post to have another meeting so that we could go over this stuff. There's a lot of time that you have to set aside for meetings if you're on a subcommittee.
But I
And
was
the
on
same thing for the
needs assessment, although I
If you're on,
didn't find it, we had our subcommittee meetings, and we did have a member who worked full-time, and he wanted to meet at night, and of course, the rest of us are retired.
but like, I was on that committee. and I
At the
was
same
on
time.
that committee. I was on 2 or 3 different ones.
But you only,
Fortunately, being retired, you can get to all of them, but you still work.
Yeah,
And I'm just letting you know the
Yeah, no,
time commitment.
yeah. No, I,
But also, let me just interject here, I think, too. We only have a couple of subcommittees that are active right at the moment. And we have a membership subcommittee, we have the needs assessment subcommittee, and we have the town access subcommittee. And they kind of are just monitoring the results of their efforts. And the subcommittee members, it can be 2, there's 2 or 3 of you on a subcommittee. The membership subcommittee has primarily, we've been in existence, I'm on that subcommittee, we've been in existence for 2 years, 3 years now? And we don't meet every month, but it depends on the subcommittee that you're on, the issue that you're dealing with, I think. Obviously, the town access involved getting involved with more town people and other, to get
we did.
information. The needs assessment, they didn't have to do that, and all of your subcommittees, Pamela does the posting of the minutes of the meetings. She takes care of that. She also attends the subcommittee meetings, so you have her as a huge resource. So,
it isn't an overwhelming.
No, it isn't. And you only really, I think on the job description it says serve on a subcommittee.
Right.
You don't have to be on more than one.
But the nominating committee, I served on it, and the needs assessment, well, we did one little job, and it's done until next year when there'll be another nominating committee. So it's flexible, and we create committees as interest in issues arise.
Yep.
And, if we decide we're going to do a housing study, and that's your thing, that's a committee you might want to be on.
But Susan, I think you touched on one of the most important points, is you do need to realize that because the whole board is made up mostly of retired people, that we do meet during the day, and subcommittees frequently want to meet during the day.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you have a lot of control over your schedule.
yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
Yes,
It is.
it is.
It is.
I've been there.
But I want to make sure you knew that,
Yeah.
and that you weren't, this is not unusual for us to meet. This is our meeting time, second Wednesday of the month, or second Monday of the month.
Second, well, this is the
Well,
third.
this is the
because We just
third.
had an accident last week, as far as getting the meeting posted. And Pamela does all of that for you, as long as you communicate and you work with her. I know she's attended all of our subcommittee meetings and has been very helpful, so.
And we are advisory to Pamela. We don't have to go out and create the wheel. We just have to tell Pamela how we want the wheel to look, and she goes, no, I don't like that design. Come back.
Nice
From all
wheel.
I've heard, you'd be a big asset to helping Tina.
I would just like to throw out here, too, that, and for everyone, to have the realization that board members are considered employees of the town, and as such, you have to adhere to all the town rules and everything. And we do have orientation manuals, which capture, like, the open meeting law that's in there, and things of that nature, so we help educate new board members. But you need to realize that you need to, be on TV for the monthly meetings. And some people find that, very disconcerting. They don't like that idea, so we just like to get it out there so that people understand what the obligations are, I guess,
And
basically.
occasionally,
They're
I ha-
discouraging you, that's what
no,
they're
we're
doing.
not. But occasionally, I had, with the needs assessment, I had to go to a selectmen's meeting, not my favorite thing to go out at night, because I've given in to being old. But you do, because it's of interest to you. Needs assessment was my big driving force to get on the board. I wanted to know what the needs in the community are, what we should be working on, what would be helpful. And then, so that was natural for me to get on that subcommittee, and you do what you have to do with regard to that. But I think you would be a wonderful asset to our board.
Thank you. Other questions?
Do you have any more
Yes,
questions?
do you have some for us?
Where's the door?
How fast can I go through it?
No, I did make a couple of notes. So, attending training sessions at least once annually, I was just curious what that meant.
Okay. Most of the time, that can mean any number of things, and most of the time, you will have to attend, if you are a board member, initially, right away, or as soon as possible, a training session done by Emmett. How do you pronounce it?
Smarzo.
Smarzo. I have a hard time with his last name. And he is the state-level Department of Elder Affairs. He presents programs local. I mean, we just, 3 of us, or 4 of us, went to one in Westminster just in September.
Okay.
And Jean and I went to Groton.
He did one here that I
for ours.
attended,
Right.
downstairs.
He does them around the state at different council on aging locations, and they're usually a half a day. That's one, because he is a wealth of information, and we learn so much from him as far as how we should be doing things, and get ideas from other council on aging boards, et cetera. It's, a networking opportunity,
right.
too. And then there are things like conference Pamela attends, if you're into more sophisticated conferences, I guess that's the best way to describe it. Maybe you can just explain a little bit about it, the one you just went to. And
Just recently, I went to the MCOA conference, Massachusetts Council on Aging's 3-day conference, wide range of programs, workshops, another networking opportunity. Obviously, talk to people from centers that are the same size as us, but not necessarily geographically close, and then also those that are geographically close. But there are also opportunities
All right.
that come up through Minuteman Senior Services.
Yep.
Sometimes they're a 2-hour or a half-day kind of session. I think the intent of that, as part of the job description, is to encourage you to learn about the field.
Right. Okay.
Since you're practicing in elder law, you probably are already exposed to opportunities, webinars, and what have you, to focus in on
anything that has to
what's
do
going on in
with
Massachusetts.
elder affairs, you would be covered.
Okay.
It's, the point is just to, as Pam said, keep on top of things as much as you can. You don't have to go to them all, you can't, but just get ourselves out there, at least to one a year. So, that was the whole purpose of that, and including that in the job description so that people had an awareness.
They enhance your participation on the board.
Right.
I've taken a number of different ones around, and they're really very, very informative.
Okay.
I think my other questions were pretty much covered, so.
Well, that's great. All right, any other questions? No? Well, we welcome you to stay for the remainder of the meeting, if you'd like.
Thank you.
And we will be getting back to you about this, but we have other things on the agenda, and they're welcome to stay. And it's basically, after we're done, Mary's going to be coming up next, and then we're going to be getting reports, budget reports, and things of that nature that we have that are more routine.
Become
Yep.
monthly.
Okay.
Yes, so.
All right,
But thank you, and thank you ever so much.
Thank you for being flexible about switching days.
Yes. Mary, would you like to join us?
I would love to join.
Thank you. So, maybe some of your questions were answered. A lot of listening to, our conversation, but, which is helpful, but please, feel free to ask any additional or any questions you have at any time.
Thank you.
So, all right.
Oh, you're looking to me to start again?
Started at the last
I did, I'm looking right down there at you saying, Susan started it, or Patty can
Mary,
start.
you're a townie, correct?
I am a townie. Daddy was a townie.
Well, my husband's a townie, and my mother-in-law remembered years and years ago, she told me about you because you had just finished nursing school and you had just become a nurse.
I went to nursing school a little bit later, and so I've been a nurse for about 40 years.
And you bought a car from my father-in-law right after you got...
Was that the limelight green one?
I don't know. But that's my first reference to you, was all those years ago when Buster ran the Chrysler dealership.
Right.
And my mother-in-law was so impressed that this young woman who had just got into nursing had come and bought a brand-new car.
Well, Daddy was good.
So what is your real interest in the aging situation here in Littleton? What is it that has driven you to want to be on the board?
Okay, basically, having been quote-unquote a townie, I have seen people over the years, especially Mrs. Cam, because her son and my brother were born, what, the same day?
I met Mary's mother, Mary Pickard, at the
Mount Auburn
Hospital, when they had wards then, maternity wards, and Mary was in the next bed, and I was in this bed, and she had David, and I had Bill, and found out that we were both,
Townies.
connected with Littleton, so that's when I met Mary's mother.
Yeah. Having lived in this town and had a lot of my family members here, and having also worked in nursing, I worked at the last part of my nursing career. For 30 years, I worked at Emerson. And in that period of time, I did intensive care, I did recovery, then I went to home care. Home care was a whole different ball. And I got to meet people I loved. I worked in Lincoln, Sudbury, Wayland, that kind of stuff. But I met people I loved, and when I talked to them, I found out so many things that I didn't know. And at the end, about the last 12 years of my thing, I was doing triage. So I was dealing with all these nurses that were dealing with all these elderly people. And we had to kind of brainstorm a lot to figure out how are we going to make it better for them. And sometimes I had to say, stop, we need to look outside the box here. We need to, I can think of many reasons, but just don't think what you learned in nursing school. Think about thinking out of the box, because you help people that way. You make them want to see you. You make them feel like they're needed. I feel the same way in this town. And, I don't plan on leaving this town. I inherited a house. I'm very happy. I have a brother. I have another brother. I have two brothers that are deceased and a sister. But we all love Littleton. And I want to be someone who keeps Littleton happy and makes people feel like they are important, because they are. And there's so much you can learn from the older population. I'm not going to say the elderly, the older population. And I feel at this point in my life, this is what I can give, because I'm no longer working. I'm doing a little bit of volunteering, and I want to be part of this because it's my life path.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mary, do you have questions for us while they are thinking if they have a question for you?
I think a lot of the questions were answered. I do want to get more involved in the town, because basically, excuse me, when I became a nurse, I left. I didn't necessarily leave living here, but I worked in Concord, I worked in Philadelphia, I worked in Virginia.
And so basically, that was my home, but I wasn't involved in it. It's time to be involved. You know, it's like, and there are so many wonderful people.
What do you see as what part of it do you want to be involved in?
I'd be involved in anything they asked me to do.
Okay.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. I'm sure I can offer some things to people. I don't know. You know, you can pull from your gut and end up doing better than you ever thought you could. And that's what I'd like to do, is to use the things I know and learn the resources I need to help other people.
Do you get the broadcaster?
I do.
What do you think of it?
What do I think of it? I think it's very interesting. I don't do a lot of the things that are in there. Not saying that I wouldn't, but I really haven't. I've only been retired for about 2.5 years. So I'm just starting to get into, I need to do things with people. I think a lot of the things are very, very positive. Very positive. And I hope a lot of people are taking advantage of this. Unfortunately, having worked in some of the places I did, a lot of people didn't take on the Council on Aging. They didn't, you know, it was like they were hiding behind that front door. And I don't want to hide anymore. I want to be out there.
No, you sound like you want to give a lot.
I am a giver.
Yeah.
It gets me into a lot of trouble, but I am a giver. So, yeah. And I'm too young not to do it.
I know. No comment.
That gives me a segue into, because it just made me think about it. What are your feelings about, since you're talking about getting out more and doing more, and I can relate to that, because I think when you retire, it's a process.
It is
to
a
go through to
process.
find your
From
niche.
Working
Right.
40 hours a day, 40 hours a week for 40 years.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I really don't need to go out today. I don't have to go out, but I need a process to keep me
Yeah,
going.
and to get yourself and to figure out where you want to be and what you want to do. But, so, with that in mind, and being more out, getting out more, what are your feelings about visibility or presence at different town things, like the Board of Selectmen meetings? I think Susan mentioned the fact that she doesn't like to go out at night, but she did go, you know, or to, sometimes there are Board of Selectmen meetings and there are things coming up. There are town meetings, you heard us talking about the town meeting where our articles were on the agenda, and certainly our presence, you know, was valued, I think, being, you know, at that meeting that night, and we should have been there, so that kind of thing, how do you feel about that?
As far as going out at night or going to other meetings?
Well, and going out to town meetings and things of nature, and what if there was, we've got, you know, maybe with the needs assessment and everything we found out, we'll be looking to increase our budget, perhaps, and how do we support that, and how do we support Pam in that? Because we don't have the authority, but we need to have a presence, and presence around town helps elders too. They get, our seniors, they get to know who people are, and, you know,
And
it's important.
Also, I think, and I don't want this to sound bad, but my name gets me a lot of places.
Ah.
And I don't mean that to be nasty. I mean,
Picket Farm in town
mean
is
all
quite
those
well known.
pumpkins up on 2A?
But like even when I was working in Concord, I don't know if anybody remembers Hayes Shoes.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Well, I had him as a patient, and I said, well, you know my Aunt Winnie. Yep, you know this one, you know that one. Oh, you can come back again. You know, and I'm not patting my pointy head at all. I'm just saying, sometimes your name will get you places where other people would say, well, I don't know Joan Smith, but I've heard of this name before. And I
It's the
think
towny name, one of the towny names.
it
the
is
Pickett
towny.
name.
It is towny. But I don't utilize that as, you know, getting me into something, but when they know something about you or know of you, like even, all right, this is another thing, but Pickard China. Pickard China was made in the United States. We are related way back when. I went into one of my patients in Sudbury one day, and I went, "Oh, you have Pickard china." And she says, "How do you know that?" I said, "Well, we're related." And I brought her a book. She was in an assisted living. I brought her a book. She had gotten these pieces of china from her father, who was a banker, and he would get gifted these things. And, but it was just, it let me in the door for this person. And that was really important, because they felt good that I knew something that was important to them. Questions?
As you think about Littleton's aging population, which, because of baby boomers, is going to drastically increase,
Right.
just thinking about it, what strikes you as needing the greatest attention about that?
I think it's housing. I think there's a huge
Don't
piece.
think it's housing.
In fact, I ran into somebody today at the grocery store, and she said, "I've been waiting, I've been on this list. Nobody is leaving. I want to stay in Littleton. I want to go to this place, and there's no place for me to go." And that was like an eye-opener to me, because that's all her friends, a lot of her friends are in the elderly housing. And she said, "I just want to be there. It's nice, it's sunny, it's glorious, and that's where I want to be. I don't want to go to Groton, I don't want to go to Pepperell, I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to stay in Littleton." And I think I am in the same way. I want to stay in Littleton also. Because Littleton, granted, in working, I didn't have time. I didn't own property, I didn't do anything. So I didn't participate as much in Littleton, but I'm ready now. I'm reading the books, I'm seeing my cousins, I'm doing all that stuff. And I want to help a little bit, a lot.
Okay.
So in other words, you're willing to be on it. You can make yourself available to come to all these meetings, and if need be on the subcommittee.
Yep.
And all that.
The only thing I'm doing right now is I'm doing loaves and fishes 2 days a week.
Right.
Well, Miss Marge does that, too.
Yes.
Hi, I know Mary from there.
Do you take notes?
Not happily, but I
I'll take them the next time, Susan.
sweetheart, you.
I'll just put my microphone in front of everybody.
You're whining all the time. Jeez.
What are you doing at Loaves and Fishes?
Make a note of that
At
now.
this point, I started out doing food distribution, and then I went into the clothing room. And I usually go Wednesdays and Fridays if there's no conflicts. Sometimes I've gone other days also. But, and it's very different, but most people are appreciative of what we have there. And that is so very, very important. You have some that are more entitled, but the reality is, you get these good clothes, they get good coats, they get good clothing. Nobody puts them down. And that's not the purpose. It's not to say, "Oh, you have to come to a pantry." No, it's, "Hope you like it. You want anything here? Do this, do that." And they keep saying, "Thank you so much." And it's rewarding.
Have you been to our thrift shop?
Not yet. May need some new clothes.
Our thrift shop is fantastic.
Well, that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard.
I hope so.
It is. I bought a great pair of pants there.
I know, lots of people buy great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, just to interrupt a second, I was thinking about coats, and might have some for Loaves and Fishes, too.
We would love anything you have. We're giving everyone who is a member of Loaves and Fishes, who is a client, they're entitled to a winter coat every year, only including the people that are listed on the thing. But, we're getting coats with tags.
Brand
We're
new.
getting coats with names, like, LL Bean, this, that.
North Face being the big one now.
Yeah, but not as much of that. That's pretty. But we get these coats, and people go, I need a coat. I really, really need a coat. And it's like, if we don't have it out here, maybe we go into the back room, maybe we can find something for you. People that are looking to do a job interview, they might need a suit.
Yes.
I know one girl came in, she was engaged to a soldier, and she needed a party dress. And we found her a party dress. And that was just so exciting for her.
What about for you?
Sometimes my feet hurt. But on the whole, it's good.
Yeah, it makes you feel wonderful to be able to
Yeah,
provide.
it does, yeah. And usually I bring in something baked.
She does. Whenever you see a home-baked bread on the volunteer
I
snack
gotta
table,
start some new ones, though.
you know, Mary's done that.
Okay, can I ask the same question? As you think about the Littleton's aging population, what strikes you as needing the most attention?
She said housing.
Housing, definitely housing.
You
I'm sorry.
Hear it.
I wasn't paying attention.
And, maybe even transportation. I'm not sure what's going on with transportation around here.
Oh, well, you're not reading the,
Gosh.
No, I read it, and I know they've increased the prices and done all that stuff, but
but we have more vans. We're going to ask for another van. We provide so many rides. If you stay for the meeting, that will come up, our transportation data.
yeah,
Monthly, we talk about how many rides were provided to how many different people.
yeah, that's
So-
good.
And they've been on the increase constantly. It's
Yeah.
a huge, and we're even more with this new housing in
it's so
Littleton
hard
people have
because-
moved into, and that's added to it. You know,
It's very hard when we
Demand
have to
is
turn
there.
someone down.
I know. Do you do private transport, or do you just do
Through
van
our-
transport?
Van, privately, there's someone that I work the front desk. That's one of how I got involved was I started working the front desk, answering the phone. And you really get sort of a broad knowledge of what's going on when you do that. But I've given people rides to doctor's appointments, and I take them on a journey because I don't always know where I'm going. I went to Danvers with somebody. So there are people through Tina who will provide privately, but we try to get
Try
people to
using
go
a van.
You should talk with Pam, I think, on that subject.
Well,
She
coordinates.
is,
I mean, I would consider doing some of that stuff, too.
Friendly visitor, providing rides.
Yeah. I don't want to be Nancy Nurse, though.
Oh.
Pam has tried to get me on to doing the blood pressure clinic, and I've done that for 40 years. And I know I do it, and I know I do it well, and I've saved many people's lives by, when they talk to me and they tell me something, and I go, you need to go to your doctor right now. You're bleeding. You need to go. Your blood pressure's outrageous. And when they get to know me, it's like, okay, whatever you say, and that's fine. But right now, I don't want to do technically Nancy Nurse stuff. I might consider doing it later. But right now,
well, I think there's plenty of opportunities of of participation, and transportation is a whole nother separate issue, and you get involved with legalities in some cases, and so Tina's a good resource on all that, but anyway,
Yeah.
we don't need to get into that here, but, and we do have, the vans, and we're working to provide more, so.
read the broadcaster, you'll get a lot of information. On the
I
back
read it
sheet.
every week.
On the
I mean,
back
every
sheet.
month.
Okay,
I do read it.
okay.
Okay, other questions for us?
No.
Mary,
Don't think so.
what do you think would be the hardest thing for you in terms of being on this board?
Saying no. I probably would always say yes. I'm kind of, I bang myself on the head a lot of times, but it's like, oh yeah, oh, I'll do it, and then I'm committed to that thing. I don't see a problem with dealing with the people that are on the board so far. I just think it'll be okay.
You just don't know me.
I've known you for a lot of years, lady.
Streperous as you are.
I'm staying quiet.
But I think it's interesting. And like I said, I really want to get involved in the community that I've lived in but not really participated in. So,
Thank you. I have no more
Okay, no more questions? All right. Mary, thank you.
Thank you.
We- The board will get back to you.
thank you.
And if we're done, I think we're going to move on to our reports so that we can move further on after that.
Yeah.
So do we have the Martin office and the budget reports from Bob, or are we
We
tabling
have them
those?
in written form, which everyone is free to look at. I'm a poor substitute for Bob in going over the budget reports. But I did pull them out and provide them to him, and he sent them back by email. Mark continues to chug along, chewing up money. Spending is in line with everything that we expect. I'm very, very happy to tell you in terms of the funds, that we received a very generous $10,000 donation to the Transportation Fund last month.
Wow.
Nice.
$10,000.
Not from the Cooper Fund?
Not from the Cooper Fund, this is from a private individual. And then we also received a $5,000 donation from the Morrison Trust again.
Are we going to hold that for a van?
Well, they gave us $5,000 last year, and this year they did the same thing. Their letter just says for recognition of your good works.
That's nice.
Yep.
Very nice.
That's wonderful.
Wonderful, wonderful.
You've
wonderful.
taken care of the preliminary thank yous and all that nonsense. Yeah, good.
Yep.
Good, good, good.
So nice to have a little bit of funding coming in that way. We are continuing to run the transportation appeal through the newsletter, and we get dribs and drabs in of that. Of course, renting our own vehicles costs us some money, so money does go out for wear and tear and for repairs, and especially because when I get to transportation in my director's report, we're just so busy, and we're putting so many miles on the vehicles. There's a payment literally to be made for that.
I think probably that's the second biggest item other than housing, is the transportation issues. And, yeah,
They kind of go hand in hand.
they do. But there's a lot going on in that aspect that people will learn about as time goes on, as far as trying to get a better transportation system in the town with other towns too, so. Okay.
Well, the library's looking for money, so I'm glad that they shot it over here instead. I mean, if there's a choice, that's a lot of money.
That's wonderful. Okay. Any questions on that for Pam, since she's filling in for Bob? Then we can move on to Pam's monthly report.
I'll be Bob. So you have 2 monthly reports from me because at the last meeting, being away, I hadn't been able to pull the report together. If you look at the October report on the back page, and you look at transportation, you can see what we're up against. We jumped up to 524 rides in October. That's a new high for us. We had been dancing around 500, but 524 is definitely a new high. 67 individuals took advantage of the transportation program. The drivers are out there every day, 2 vans on the road every day. Frequently, they're doing 7:30 pickups, and they're generally not off the road until 4 or 4:30. It's a real important piece for people to be able to get around. I brought this up at the budget meeting that I went to on Saturday with the FinCom and the Board of Selectmen. We are now getting to the point where we have to deny rides more frequently, and we are also having to deny some medical rides. Now, prior to this, I can think of a month where we had maybe 4 denials, and then maybe 6, and then even up to 10. But those were all people who were going to the grocery or beauty shop or something like that. We had, last month, we had 18 denials, and some of those were medical. And I feel very, very badly about having to do that. But if we just don't have the van available, we just don't have it available. When I did my presentation to the FinCom, I pointed out to them that the denied ride doesn't tell the whole story, though, because people have to wait more now. So people have to go earlier, because that's the only time slot that's available and the van can get them, or they often have to stay later, waiting for the van to come and pick them up. Yeah.
This 123 cancellations, that's number's starting to get kind of high, isn't it?
Well, it kind of bounces up and down.
121 in November.
Yeah, I put that on there because I do want you to see how hard dispatch is working.
Right.
Because if you think about it, for every cancellation from dispatch's point of view, it's as if it's a ride.
Yeah.
We're lucky. We don't, as long as it's a cancellation, we don't wind up actually going there. It's the no-shows that cost us. They are using the automated messaging system, which helps, because cancellations at one point were very, very high. So we've been able to bring that down a bit.
Okay.
But, we have some people in town who are not happy with transportation. They want to go to where they want to go, when they want to go, and Susan, you work the desk, and Jean, you work the desk, so you know the kind of calls that we get about that sometimes. As I've said many times, people are not riding the van because it's sexy or cool. They're riding it because they have no other choice. At the budget meeting, I made a request for the town to pay for a half-time driver, and I'm making a request to the town, but I'm going to be looking for other sources for a third vehicle. Obviously, I have to have the town's permission. I can't just go out and buy a third vehicle. But I think I made a strong argument at the meeting, and it is recorded and available online if anyone wants to look at it, explaining to them that if we want to deal with more people, if we want to cut down on wait times, if we want to deal with people who are being denied, there's just no way to do it without going to a third van. What I'd really like to do is have a third vehicle on the road from, say, 10 to 2, which is a really busy time for us, or maybe 9 to 1 or something like that. And when I talked to FinCom, the reason I'm asking the town to pay for the driver rather than MART to pay for the driver, $68,000 is our allotment from MART. If we go above that, they actually will charge it back to us, and we will wind up paying more dollar for dollar for every dollar that they give us. It comes back on our cherry sheet. And Bonnie Holston has been very clear on that that's just not the way to do it. So she was very supportive of the idea that if we're going to do more in terms of driving, that we need to fund it ourselves directly. I'm continuing to work with Keith. He's got transportation initiatives going on, but almost all the transportation initiatives he's working on are fixed route. Train station, up Rowan 10, past IBM, into Westford to Red Hat and places like that.
That has a name. What is the name of that being, is that the Crosstown?
Well, Crosstown Connect is the consortium of the 7 towns that's working on trying to get fixed route stuff in.
Okay.
But Crosstown Connect is also the vehicle that brought us the shared dispatch.
Right.
So, there's some aspect in which we benefit from that, but the fixed route stuff is just not, the kind of population we're talking about really needs door-to-door.
Right.
It's just not feasible. If they're able to do flex route, which means they'll come off of the route to a person's home, that might be something that would work. But right now, as it stands, in the foreseeable future, don't see us going away from running our own van service at all. And we're also trying to kind of beat MART up about allowing us to do things more efficiently. There are times when sitting out in front of Emerson, there's my van, there's a van from Boxborough, there's a van from Acton, and they will not allow us to put riders on other vans from other towns, even towns that are within MART.
Wow,
It's just
that's pretty-
a bureaucratic
Yeah,
red tape, yeah.
a waste of money.
Yeah, it's on Keith's radar, and we keep talking about it. We'll see what happens in terms of being able to pressure them. Susan, you had a question?
No, you answered it.
Oh.
But thank you.
The other thing that came up in the budget meeting, and I did think the budget meeting went well. I think they were listening. They asked good questions. They really seemed tuned in to the case that we were making for how busy we are and what we want to offer in terms of services. I did ask them, I was originally going to ask them for a half-time outreach worker, and then I met with Fred Faulkner, our liaison from FinCom, and we talked it over, and I actually asked them for a full-time person.
Oh, great.
Truthfully, it'd be easier to fill a full-time job than a half-time, and we'd probably get more out of a full-time person than a half-time person. With a half-time person, we'd wind up either splitting them with another town, or they might take it and then still be looking for a full-time job and later leave us.
My observation from working the desk and seeing Tina is that we need two more of Tina's, because really, there's so much to be done.
And we have not even scratched the surface on some of the at-risk populations that are out there, because we just don't have the manpower to go out and dig it out. One of the numbers that I ran down was talking about the needs assessment and the number of people in the 50 to 60 age range who said they were caring for an adult in the home. And then the ones, it was almost 80% of them said that it was challenging, either somewhat challenging or very challenging to do so. So I kind of ran those numbers backwards, and not looking at all the 50 to 60-year-olds, just the ones who responded to the needs assessment. It came out to about 153 people in town that were saying that they were somewhat or very challenged with taking care of someone. You know, Tina and I have talked about this. We don't have 153 people knocking on our door saying, well, I want to come to your caregiver support group, I need help. So that means that they're out there, and they're probably stressed to the max, and there's probably even more of them that never could even fill out the needs assessment.
Well, you think about the people in our, in the Littleton Social Club. You know there are more isolated elders out there who could use that aren't signed up for the social club. I mean, we have a nice number, and we did go to 3 days, but there's got to be a whole community of people out there that we're not reaching somehow.
Yeah. And Tina and I have also talked about, we suspect that there's some real food insecurity out there. Nationwide, it's a problem that the senior population is underrepresented in terms of food stamps. There's a big stigma associated with that. It takes a lot of energy to reach out to groups that don't want to self-report and don't call you up and don't knock on your door. Doesn't mean that they're not without need.
And that you're not aware of them. You know, we know they're out there, we just don't know how to get to them, and
unfortunately, it goes back to, I think there's still some of that, the stigmatism from the era from which they are. They were raised that you just don't do that.
We experienced it in our family. My mother's brother in Maine, I mean, he was a very, very proud man. He had worked very hard. He bought a home for his parents, and then he lived in it when they died. And my husband would go up on Navy duty and go visit my uncle, and he'd say, Raymond, you're probably entitled to food stamps. And I go, oh, my goodness,
We never
no.
consider it, no.
Oh, what a horrifying thought that was to him. And
That's a big part of, I think, we're still into that population that is at this point.
And some of it's an education thing,
Right.
making it clear to people that it's a debit card now, and when you go through the line, no one
Right.
knows what you're doing.
Right.
It's,
But still,
it's the idea.
I mean, you see it with people going to Loaves and Fishes.
I'm sure.
As new clients, they have great difficulty in doing that.
And the other thing that we're facing is the impact of the development at 15 Great Road.
Yes.
The Veterans Agent was talking about this as well, that we're already seeing people coming in from there, all ranges, looking for transportation, because, people, men and women, are outliving their ability to drive, or their comfort level with driving into Boston or places like that. Fuel assistance. SMOC is placing clients over there, knowing that they are eligible for fuel assistance, and they're sending them to see Tina for fuel assistance. And then people who are looking for just more services from us, more activities, they want to be involved. So we're already seeing an uptick in those numbers. I'm sure Tina will talk about that when she talks about her numbers. On the other side of the fence, somebody mentioned the library. So the library has engaged an architect, and they're moving forward with their plans. This came out at the department head meeting. They're looking at 3 different options. One would be to take the current library space and renovate and expand it. A second would be to take some existing space and renovate it, such as Indian Hill. And the third would be to build new. There's different reimbursement options for those. They actually get reimbursed more if they build new than if they do any of the other options. And a complicating factor with trying to renovate here or take a place like Indian Hill and renovate is, and I didn't realize this, the weight of the books is a huge factor. So if you have an existing building, most buildings are not built to the spec to be able to hold books up when you start to
Never
get,
thought of that.
you know,
Yeah.
bookcase after bookcase after
It's heavy,
bookcase.
a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, for all those years, they were upstairs at the Houghton building. You know, good heavens, any day, all those books could have fallen.
It'll come right through the floor, right? Yeah. So that's continuing to go along. I've heard that the Indian Hill people have broken ground in Groton. So,
But is it for sure that they're going to give up the Littleton location and move everything to Groton, or are they, I mean, we don't know, it's all supposition,
at this
correct?
point, it's all supposition, so.
You've just given my report.
Well, that'll save us some time then,
And
Mary.
they're sending a flyer, the library, fundraising. They want $25,000 toward the cost of building and service improvements. And like you said, they do have a grant for feasibility study for a new building or expansion. But it would be nice if they left and the Park and Rec left and we could move downstairs and upstairs.
Be nice if we could have
That's
Indian Hill.
Yeah.
And the library can take our space.
So then the last thing I want to mention, and this also came up in the budget meeting, is just the popularity of the support groups that we're running. The caregiver support group is going very strong. We had a month where we thought no one was going to show up, and what'd you get, like 9? And I think part of this is because they're telling us that the closest one is Shirley, I believe, and it's really busy and full, and they don't feel like they get a lot of airtime to talk about their issues.
That's Leominster.
Or Leominster, right, yeah,
Which is a bigger city, kind of,
yeah.
I suppose.
So there's not much available in the area. Susan, you mentioned that we went to the third day on Social Club. That is almost everyone who's coming on Wednesdays and Thursdays is now sending their family members on Tuesdays as well. Very popular. Tina runs her social anxiety group, which continues to chug along twice a month. People who need support, and then, of course, her Living Alone and Living Well group. We've been fortunate that we've had Courtney, who is our student from Salem State, the social work student, and she helped a lot with the wellness fair. Ran the table that was doing screenings for depression. And just as a last note, the wellness fair, very well attended, probably about 145, 150 people that came through. They gave out 62 flu shots, had 34 vendors, and I got positive feedback both from the people who went and also from the vendors, and you need both sides of that equation for the wellness fair to work at all. Great thanks to everybody who helped. Paul Tokmakian put together a great poster. Various people in the front office and what have you put posters up for me. I had senior tax workers who came in who helped to literally set up tables and drag things around in chairs, and just...
Who did the advertising did a wonderful job, because everywhere you picked up, turned around, It was advertised.
You mean like the Action Unlimited and?
Yes.
Yeah, we used that, and we used the
Sounds,
Independent.
Everything, and the sun, everything, it was good.
Yeah.
The big marquee, the
Oh,
lights.
right, yeah.
That was great.
Many thanks to Jimmy Clyde for, town meeting was on the 2nd, and the next day we were on the sign
That
to
was
talk
great.
about the
Yes,
wellness
that was
fair.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the posters too, I think, because I know you gave me a couple to hand out, and, yeah.
Is
So,
that the fourth one?
That was the 4th one.
It's growing every year.
Every year it's growing. It's working out really well to use the middle school. There's expansion possibility there. We can move into the lobby and we can move down the hallway. So I'm going to try to get that next year as well.
It was great turnout.
Good parking there.
It is good. I was shocked. Well, I didn't get there at 10. I came maybe around 11. I forget when. But anyway, and the parking lot was packed. So it was hard to find a place to park.
And we
I
got
was wishing we had senior parking.
I was going to say, put Patty to work on
I
that.
know.
We also got a range of people in age-wise. I think the flu clinic pulls in people, and the blood pressure nurses also ran a station in the same room as the flu clinic.
Oh, good.
So that was another way to just, get a little publicity for us, and we had the broadcaster out for people to peruse while they were waiting.
People were shocked, I think, Jean, right? You can verify this. People would say, this is free, the food. Because Jean and I were helping at that table,
Right.
those tables, and it was like, people would say, well,
Concord Park and Neshoba Park provided the food for us free for lunch. And I have to say that I had vendors that were actually elbowing each other out of the way to have the opportunity to provide the lunch. And they've already signed up for next year.
great.
That's what I mean about you have to have both sides of the equation. The vendors have to feel like it's worth their time.
Yeah.
Great synergy in that group. We had 2 people giving sample massages. We had a new transportation company, private transportation, Calver, who was getting acquainted with the community. We had lots of home care agencies there, lots of opportunities for people to talk and get a feel for the kinds of services that were available. There was a chiropractic doing spine screenings. Dr. Megan Ford was there doing earwax testing, and she's been coming now. She's going to be coming every quarter and doing hearing screenings for us, again, free of charge. So it's a very synergistic group and lots of good energy there. The Tai Chi people were there. So well worth the effort that goes into putting it together. We've already talked about transportation, so I think that's about everything I need to say about what's happening in my office. Any questions?
No, that's a lot. Lots happening. But it's exciting.
When will we know about acquiring help for Tina?
So this budget cycle that I was talking about on Saturday would begin July 1st. It's the 2017 budget cycle. So we won't have any word on that until well after the first of the year. And then it would be brought to town meeting, the annual town meeting in May, to be voted on.
Okay.
Is Tina?
Yep, Tina, you can move to the honored seat, if you would, please.
You're in the hot seat, Tina.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Pamela touched on a lot of the outreach, caregiver support groups and some of the increase in fuel assistance and that sort of thing. But on the lines of caregivers, I had a chance to be in touch with NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and they're doing a local family-to-family workshop in Boxborough beginning in January, and he was nice enough to send along the information. If any of you have anyone that you know is caring for a family member with mental illness, they can attend this free, I think it's 12 weeks from January 20th to April 6th. It is in the evening from 7 to 9:30 p.m., but it would be, very valuable to those, people caring for someone with
Will that
mental
information
illness.
go in the broadcast?
You just do
I
that.
th- It missed it for this month, but we'll get it in, for
Right.
next month. And as Pamela talked about TRED, I'm of course very excited about that opportunity for some of our very low-income homeowners, that they'll have this opportunity, to apply for this program. January, and it's going to be a real nice help for some of those people trying to stay in their own home, but the property taxes are too much for them. I would say in this Wednesday evening, we're fortunate to have Dr. Maureen O'Connor, who works with Dr. Stern at the BU Medical School. She's coming along with Jamie McWilliam from Concord Healthcare in Concord Park over in Concord, and they're hosting the Wednesday night caregivers group from 6:30 to 8 p.m. So, we're looking forward with November being Alzheimer's Month. Dr. O'Connor is going to speak about research and development in Alzheimer's, so.
It's Wednesday night, too.
We usually do the last
Things
Wednesday.
always come on Wednesday.
Well, what happened with Thanksgiving, it would have been the day before Thanksgiving, so we pushed it up this month, so it's usually.
Because it's meeting on Wednesday night.
Okay. Well, we still have the steady stream of caregivers, coming to, we expect about 12 at this meeting.
Could I have her name again, Dr. Maureen?
Maureen O'Connor, and she also works at Bedford VA Hospital and is in charge of their neuroscience program at Bedford VA, and she's from the BU School of Medicine and works with Dr. Stern.
Okay.
Okay. And on occasion, well, when we can, we'll have a medical ride that's very important that the van can't accommodate, and we have been able to find several senior tax workers or volunteers that will take people, but it's sometimes an awful lot of work trying to get that one ride there, but if it's a very important appointment, medical, of course, we do our best, and we've been pretty much successful with it. Some people have had the issue where they need the appointment, but they can't wait the required amount of hours for the van. Those will come my way also, and I try to, we have been somewhat successful in finding rides for those people.
Do you
with those
maintain a
needs.
list?
I have to go back, I don't have it right with me today.
No, but I mean, in your office, you maintain a list of people.
Yes, through, through the notes that are logged on, yeah, and that's it. So I would say that our meetings, I've probably met 7 new residents in town this month, and it seems like each day I'm getting more and more calls. They're not exclusively at 15 Great Road. We seem to have some turnover at the mobile home park and some new people there, and some other people just in rentals throughout the town that have moved in. So we're getting to know them and making sure they feel included in all the programs that we have. I guess, that's it for now, if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Tina?
No? Okay.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Okay. Barbara Cam.
You're on. No change in the bingo, it's going fine. And the numbers are still, 15, 17, 20 one day. So they're happy with the prizes, so it's good.
Good.
And the kitchen is, just the same. Yeah, it's fine.
Good.
No problems.
That's what we like to
That's
hear,
the
right?
best.
Yes, it is, so.
They're happy
Mary,
over there.
oh, Patty?
I was going to ask a question of Barbara.
Pardon me?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
And I'm still a newbie on the board, but I won't be pretty soon. Your senior diner bingo monthly report, when did you start doing that? How did you come about it? I'm just trying to figure it out, because it seems like almost redundant
Probably
information.
because I'm on the board, and because I always, I've volunteered in the kitchen for many, many years, and that's where the bingo takes place, in the dining room, outside the kitchen. So, I inherited it.
Because we get an update from Pam on the kitchen, and you give us...
Oh, no, she's
No.
doing the building of the kitchen. The
Oh,
building of
yes.
the kitchen. I'm doing the operation and the problems or whatever comes up
Oh,
with the kitchen,
Oh.
with the lunches.
Or the breakfast, or the...
Or the breakfast, when we have the kitchen available, the breakfast, there's lots of things that go on down there that aren't going on
I
now.
was just trying to figure out, where's all this coming from?
No, Pam is reporting on the building of the kitchen, the new kitchen.
You're in operations of the kitchen.
Yeah, yeah.
And she works closely with Gail Dalton.
I know
who is-
Gail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I work with Gail
So-
all the time.
And she goes over to Pine Tree Park now with Gail to
I
still,
don't go to the bingo, but the bingo is right there, so.
And I see the list, and last time, there were a lot of people on the list. I was amazed how many people play bingo.
I know, really.
Really
Well,
popular.
when we, when the kitchen was in operation, there were some days that there were 25 people,
yeah, well, there's no question that not having the kitchen there where the multipurpose room
Yeah.
has caused a reduction in numbers for many
Little
things.
bit,
So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we're getting there. We're getting back to
Yeah.
it, so.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're on
You're
there.
welcome. Mary, you had the library one already. You snuck that in on us early.
All right. Number one on the kitchen, Pam has discussed. On Beacon Hill, they have adopted a senior program. The Elder Affairs Committee held a meeting on a bill that would establish a statewide Adopt a Senior volunteer program to assist seniors with snow removal and property or home maintenance services. The measure includes creation of a registry of volunteers and establishes a system of volunteer incentive to assist and recruit the volunteers. I wonder from this, would that go through Minuteman? Adopt the senior program?
Well, it has to go be
It's something
enacted.
they've decided to do on Beacon Hill, so it's new and.
Was it proposed or passed?
Is it
It
enacted?
says they held a hearing on it. It's S-368. It's just a hearing.
Well, then it's not.
So, but it's a good thing,
Oh, it's certainly a
statewide,
good
if
thing.
it passes.
Be great if they could provide us with some funding to
Right.
pay a volunteer coordinator.
Last month, we were questioning Minuteman Senior Services assessment of $25.05. We thought was too much, but I have your October 8th from Minuteman, and it justifies that they're charging Littleton is based on the most recent federal census, and it is adjusted annually.
Did you
There's a-
miss the last meeting, Mary? Did you miss the last meeting?
No, she was here.
Because that was distributed at that meeting.
Yeah, we,
That you're holding right there was distributed at that meeting.
Well, I know we were objecting to the 500 too much. No, we wanted to pay 2,000, and they're asking for 25. So we were not liking that. Evidently, in their Littleton residents, 800 had used Minuteman services in 2014, and that came to $518,000, 802. And they have broken it down on how many did take these services and the amount. So I don't know, has anything been done to try to get down to the 2,000 since the last month's meeting?
It's not a negotiation, it's a...
It's not,
They,
no.
they just tell us what our allotment is.
Well, yeah, that's what I
It's
wanted.
kind of like, Neshoba Tech tells us how much we owe them, and Neshoba Associated Boards of Health just recently raised their allotment.
But it's worth it. I mean, we really do get our money's worth.
We talked about this extensively last month, about some of the specific items on there, like the Shine Counselor and what have you, that are provided to us.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really something you can't argue about. Westford COA, in their, I'll call it a broadcaster, they have a Boston shuttle to Boston from the Littleton station via MART, and I have a telephone number if anyone is interested.
That's not the Westford COA, it's run by MART.
Hmm?
That's not the Westford COA, it's run by MART. It's a MART bus. It stops at the
Right.
station and then goes to Emerson Hospital. We actually take someone to Emerson to meet it.
Right, okay.
on a very regular basis.
The library fund drive, we've already discussed. Also, in Westford, the town highway department is saying, in Littleton, there was a notice sent to the residents on the winter snow removal and all. It gave the hours that sand was available down at the highway department. Westford, in their flyer, put that if you want pickup or you want sand, to call their number. They're already putting it in. I guess it's not too late. It's November. They will deliver it.
We do that already, Mary.
We did it every year. I know we do. But we don't have it in our broadcaster yet
Oh, I'm sure we'll be getting out in the broadcaster.
because winter is here.
Well, we didn't put it in the November broadcaster because we don't usually get snow in November
No.
that we need that for.
Okay.
Usually, yeah, they're right. We did it last year.
Winter doesn't come until December. We're still in fall. The winter solstice isn't until December 21st or so.
We're getting there. Don't
We'll
remind
be
us.
there.
Don't remind us.
All right, I'll end it with that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right.
Yeah, last year we used senior tax workers to fill the buckets.
And they were greatly appreciated. I recall that.
We got it in just before that big ice storm. It was perfect.
I know last year some of my neighbors said that Pam came and delivered.
She did.
I did deliver some of them personally.
They were very pleased.
A multi-purpose director.
Multitasking, did it on my way
I
home.
said, Pam brought it? Oh.
Okay, before we move on to the next item, I would like to explain a little bit about it. After our last meeting, did go visit Diane Corey to review executive sessions and the procedure and the process. So with that in mind, I just want people to understand that number 8 on your agenda, I am requesting a motion to convene in executive session. If you're the person that is going to make that motion, you need to read the motion as it is printed on the agenda to make sure that we have covered all of the aspects of everything that has to be in the minutes of our meeting. So,
I will move that the Council of Aging Board vote pursuant to MGLC.30A, whatever that symbol means, 21 subsection A, Clause 3, to convene an executive session to consider applicants for appointment in a preliminary screening committee. Since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect in obtaining qualified applicants, and not to convene in open session thereafter.
so moved, thank you.
So
Do I
moved.
have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Patty seconded, I think. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Unanimous.
All right. Then we are going to be meeting in executive session.